Welcome back to another episode of State of the Wizards, episode 45. I'm your host, Decan, along with my co-host, K Jose. K Jose, what's good, man?
Nothing much, man. Yesterday was the start of a new season, so we definitely going to talk more about it. Talk about that first game of the season. How you
Absolutely.
been?
I've been good, man. I'm been good. We back though.
All right,
So it's time to talk Wiz hoops. It's
let's
the
get it.
season. The season is here. Today we're going to discuss the first game of the season. What did you like from the young guys and what did you not like? What are the expectations for next game versus the Cavs? And is the expectations still two first round picks for Kyle Kuzma? Find out next. Coming up next on State of the Wizards. Before we get started, if this is your first time tuning into the channel, thank you. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Follow me at Wizards Mafia and follow my main man, K Jose, at DC Hoopla on the X app. And please follow us at State of the Wiz on Instagram and State of the Wiz on the X app as well. All right, my dude, let's get started, man. Um, K Jose, first question. How did you think the team fared after the first loss of the season to the defending champs? And, how did you feel about the young guys?
Um, so how they fared in the first half? They didn't do too bad until maybe that second quarter. And that first quarter, they was actually hanging in there. Poole was on fire. So this is the Poole that we actually traded for. Um, the young guy. One of the concerns that I have with the young guys, I don't like the fact that Keith was having Bub play two guard. I'm not a fan of that. Um, I like to see him play the one, but I get why we're doing that because we're let's call it what it is. We're showcasing Poole.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sar he only had 2 points. I think Bub only had three. He got injured as a matter of fact too. So hopefully we'll find out later on if that's a concern. Sounds like it
Mm-hmm.
may be. Um, Keyshawn George was Keyshawn George. The young guys didn't really give us a lot, as much as expected. I get it because we're in a rebuilding stage, but I like to see more from the young guys. It just depends on how the way Keith is going to coach these guys. I'm expecting Keith this season to develop these young guys, and we need to see some type of elite, especially for Bilal. I like to see him go to the next level. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Any concerns about Bilal's game after the first game?
I'm
Or did you have more questions than answers or what?
Well, the concerns was like yesterday, it seemed like he was doing a lot of thinking. He kept passing the ball a lot. It was like he was almost timid to score. So that I'm a little bit concerned about. Like I want that to be. It seems like he doesn't have that empowerment to go in there and score. So I mean, there was so many occasions where he kept passing the ball around. And I was like, man, shoot it, and it
Mm-hmm.
would turn into a 24-second shot clock violation or a turnover of some sort. So
Mm-hmm.
that is a small concern that I have. Like I'm not seeing that aggressiveness of him being able to score, and I don't know if he's being told not to do that. I don't know what it is.
I don't know if it's that. Um, I don't think it's that at all. I think Bilal kind of feels like his shot isn't there. And it's a confidence thing because you got to see that ball go through the hoop, go through the net when you're shooting the rock. And right now he's just not shooting it at all. I mean, yesterday he was 1 for 2 from the field, and I think it was primarily because he attacked the basket, right? But he's very reluctant to shoot the ball. He didn't shoot any threes yesterday. He was 6 for 8 from the free throw line. He did some of the other things well: 6 rebounds, 6 assists. He finished with 8 points, but like I said, he got most of those points from the free throw line. He was attacking downhill. He was aggressive, but he's definitely reluctant on taking that shot. I don't think it has anything to do with what's being said. I think it's just a confidence thing. Just my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's talk about the starting lineup. Were you actually shocked that he decided to go with Sar and Bub in last night's game?
Um, a tiny bit more so for Bub, not so with Sar. So I was a
Hmm.
little bit shocked to see that. But then again, you have to ask yourself if Malcolm Brogdon was healthy, Bub 9 times 10 would have been coming off the bench.
Hmm.
So I think it was just a matter of what you have available. And at the same time, I'm glad that Bub got the start. Let him get the burn. Like this season is about these young guys getting that burn, getting the reps. We got to let them develop. How are they going to develop if they're sitting on the bench watching? So Sar wasn't surprised with Bub. I was, but then when you think about it, I mean, we don't have Malcolm Brogdon, so it kind of makes
Right.
sense.
Right. Well, I tweeted yesterday, this team is bad. They're going to be bad this season, but they're not bad. Like with a capital B, capital A, capital D. Like I don't
Right.
think that they're bad, bad. I think they'll be bad, but you got to understand what I mean by like bad, bad.
Yeah, I
So,
understand.
so good basketball while not beating teams is still possible. I don't
Right.
think, this season we got to worry about seeing too many bad shots unless it's really coming from Jordan Poole on heat checks or maybe Jordan Poole just trying to find his shot. Speaking of, I mean, he was hot to start the game yesterday. I mean, he came out blazing. The first quarter Wizards yesterday was kind of the team that you hope to see when we finally get it all together. You see all these young guys really start to mesh.
Right.
But Sar Star starting and shooting from 3-point range. He was 0 for 5 yesterday, 1 for 7 from the field. I think for me, I'm kind of looking at it like let's play each individual young player to their strengths to start off. Um,
Right.
to me, that's not a strength of his game. I don't know if he's just trying to find it right now, and it's very early. It was the first game of the season, but we kind of fell into this habit and pattern with him during the summer league. He showed a little bit better, um, consistency and uh, shot awareness and in the preseason. And you said, okay, well, that's completely different than what we saw in the summer league. But to start the season and beyond, even going into next game, I want to see Sar work his way inside that paint first, and then worry about taking that three. Yesterday, I felt like he was too worried about hitting that three first, and then getting his paint, or getting his points in the paint next. I feel like the thought process behind that is backwards. And he's only gonna get better from the outside once he gets his inside game going. Because then you gotta have other players respect your shot. But if they feel like you have no inside presence, well, they're gonna keep you on the outside to shoot those threes. I mean, am I right or am I wrong about that?
Yeah, you're right. The only thing is when we talked about this during the summer league. Saw don't want no parts of the paint, bro. You're
Yeah,
asking to do, you're asking him to do something that he just wants no part of. It's just like when people say they want him to play the five. He ain't playing the five.
hmm
So Sar is going to be a big man that's going to shoot the long three, that's going to shoot outside. You want him to take advantage of a mismatch, but a lot of that has to do with him hitting the gym. He gets bullied around a lot, even when it
hmm
comes to rebounding. So it would be nice for him to play in the paint, but he wants no part of that, bro. You kind of asking him to do something that he just wants no part of.
Well, I'm to me, I don't even think it's whether or not you want to have anything to do with the paint. It's you have no choice to have something to do with the paint because in your role, the Wizards are going to need you to learn how to play inside. It's
Right,
not that we drafted you to just be a stretch big who just only shoots threes. We need you to be an inside presence. Like that's exactly what we need you to do. So what he wants to do may not necessarily be on the menu. What we
right,
need you to do is we need you to develop on the inside first and then work your way out. Right now, you're trying to develop on the outside and work your way in. That's
right.
it's not going to work that way.
No, it's not. And I mean, he shot 1 for 7 as you brought up earlier, but he was 0 for 5 from downtown. He was a minus 24, and he pulled down 5 rebounds. A guy his size, his height, he should be pulling down double digit rebounds. But again, because he
Exactly.
camps out at the perimeter so much, and he only time we see him inside is if he's doing a weak side block, which I don't mind that. But he to get him to bang in the paint, he has no desire to do that at this point. He has to hit the weight room because if he's in that paint, we're going to continue to see him getting bullied around, and we've seen it already in the summer league, and we saw it even during the preseason when he was just getting pushed around.
The reluctance of being inside, it just doesn't work. Not just for the team, but it doesn't work for Sar. It just doesn't work. He's gonna have to find a way to feel comfortable in that paint or even
I
on the
agree.
block. I don't care where you are. If you're a big man who can block shots and get inside on the defensive end, we need to find a way to get you inside and to feel comfortable on the block on the offensive end. You have no choice. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? You have no choice. So that's kind of where I am. And you can use last night's game as an example. I mean, he was a minus 24 while being on the court, 0 for 5 from three, 1 for 7 from the field and only 2 points. And I think the 2 points is on a putback dunk. Am I
Yeah.
right about that?
Yeah. Yeah. It
So
was. I think it was a yeah. It was. It was.
yeah, so you're not doing yourself any favors. You can't even get going if your shot's not falling. Make it easy for yourself is where I'm at. Get
Right.
that one easy layup and then get that one mid-range jumper going and then work your way on the outside.
I agree.
Um so let's move on. I guess I could touch on Bub's injury as well. Was there any major concerns? I know he had went down late in the game. Up to that point, he really wasn't shooting the ball well either.
Right.
But when he got injured, it was kind of like a oh no, let's hope that it's not anything serious. What ended up coming up out of that? I didn't see the injury update.
I didn't. I didn't. I kind of didn't see the injury either, but I think when he went to the bench, I think they said. I think I read a tweet where he kind of hobbled off to the back. So I don't know what the well, as we speak, and I'm seeing right now, said that he was a full participant in practice today. So
Okay,
it
great.
wasn't that bad.
That's
I
good
just
news.
saw that.
I know the injury happened on a layup or a dunk attempt, and he didn't finish the
Right.
layup, and then he fell to the ground kind of awkwardly, and then I don't know if it was his knee or I don't know. Oh, I think it was his ankle. Yeah, his ankle.
Yeah, I was thinking it was his ankle.
Yeah, his ankle. So I guess it was just a turn of it. But at any rate, um, I wouldn't say the young guys played well at all, right? Because I mean,
Mhm.
Sar could have had a much better game. Bub definitely could have had a much better game. Keyshawn George off the bench had 4. He was 0 for 4 from 3. So they didn't play well at all. But you can kind of see that these are pro level players that just need to get it going. I think that's safe to say, right?
Right. Absolutely. I mean, the
Yeah,
young guys, in my opinion, I don't really have too many concerns because I knew that they were. I mean, it's their first game, and it
yeah,
could have been a little bit of first game jitters. So
right,
they're
right.
going to develop. It's the veterans that's more of a concern for me.
Well, we'll
Those are the
get
guys that I'm looking at. With a I'm actually looking at them with a magnifying glass. I'm not looking at the young guys that way. Only the vets I'm looking at with a magnifying glass.
and that brings me to the next question. We can speak on the vets for the next game. Expectations, K Jose, for the next game versus the Cavs. What you got?
A loss. I don't see us beating the Cavs. Now, to be honest with you, I would like to see Sar and Evan Mobley go up against each other because I know some people kind of put that comparison.
Yeah.
So I would like to see how the way Sar does with that matchup. Um, we probably will see Donovan Mitchell and Jordan Poole go back and forth. Is Garland, is he healthy?
I'm not sure. I'll be honest. I didn't
Because he's
check.
usually a problem for us as well.
I
So
didn't check the
I'm ex-
injury report.
I'm expecting Bilal to have a better game. I'm
Hmm.
also expecting the same thing for Keyshawn George. We'll have to see what it goes with Bub. They're saying he's practiced today. So, but I expect a loss. I mean, the Cavs are a playoff team, and we're not. we're not ready yet.
Yeah, I think my expectations are a loss as well. No doubt about it. I also think that, I looked at last game. I mean, the young guys got some good burn, man. I mean, Sar over 20 minutes, Bub
Hmm.
over 25 minutes, Keyshawn 20 minutes, right? So, they're
Bilal
going to
played
get the,
almost 30.
huh?
Bilal, he played almost 30
Yeah,
minutes.
Bilal did play 30. Bilal played
Hmm.
30 minutes. So, you can't have these guys play over 30 minutes. And I think all of them only contributed 15 points of the 102 that we scored. So these guys definitely gotta show up and show out. And, I think Coach Keefe is kind of showing that, hey, you guys are gonna get the opportunity. It's just a matter of you now going out there and displaying exactly what you have the ability to display. I don't think there's no concern by the fan base or the coaching staff that these young guys can't perform if given the minutes. I think they're just looking at it like this got to be a confidence thing. The more games they get under their belt, the more minutes they play, they'll start putting up numbers. We'll start seeing career high numbers from Bilal. We'll start seeing breakout games from Keyshawn. We'll start seeing breakout games from Sar and Bub and so on and so forth. And that's going to come with time, no doubt about it. The first game is just what it is. You play the defending champs, they're going to
Right.
exploit those matchups. Uh,
Absolutely.
Tatum had a game. He had
Jalen Brown.
25. Jalen Brown had a game. I mean, he shot 50% from the field. All of these
Hmm.
guys were plus 14, plus 22. Shit. Derek White was plus
Plus
33.
33.
Yeah,
And they did all of this without Porzingis.
I mean, that's what they do, man. Porzingis is almost like a cheat code for them, man, because
Exactly.
they do everything else so damn well, and then you add in a man that at his height, his size, able to stretch the floor. It's just unfair, man. That team is just set up for all kinds of success.
Just ladies
Um,
and gentlemen, just not to cut you off, just to let you know how much of a matchup problem the Celtics are. Al Horford played 20 minutes and 5 seconds, was a plus 17, and scored nothing.
we scored 0 points. Yeah, I noticed that last night. I was like, damn, he didn't even score. Like, and they
And he was a
still scored
plus 17.
122.
Yeah, so I mean,
Crazy.
they're literally a serious matchup. Once I saw that they were first, I said, well, it was no way we was going to win that game. So that's the Celtics is what you want to see the Wizards be within the next 3 to 4 seasons. You want
Of
to see
course.
them that way, or what you're seeing with the Orlando Magic. You want them to be like that. But in
Hmm.
order for us to get there, we have to draft our franchise player, and right now we don't have one.
Correct. And let's speak on the vets real quick. So and then we'll move on to the question I know you can't wait to speak on. But when it pertains to going up against the Cavaliers, are we going to see the same 26-point Jordan Poole? Are we going to see the same 0 for 5 from 3 air ball Kuzma? Are we, where do you kind of stack the vets up right now on a pretty bad young team?
So with Poole, I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Poole. I'm expecting Poole to continue with that aggression.
Okay.
Um, so I think he'll still be aggressive. Will he have a hot first quarter like that? I'm not going to sit there and say that he will, but I think the aggressiveness that we're seeing from him and him playing in control, I think we'll see more of that. Valanciunas had 18 coming off the bench. He went 8 for 13 from the field, 2 for 2 from the free throw line. That's the Valanciunas I was expecting us to get to be solid, which he
Hmm.
eventually will become a trade piece. Let's call it what it is. Um, so with the bets like that, that's what I'm expecting. Those two guys I have no issues with. Kisper went 3 for 6 coming off the bench, 6 points. I'm expecting him to shoot better than me. Should I say shoot more than that? But we
Hmm.
were playing against the damn Celtics yesterday, so what could you expect? And as for bulletproof, somebody must have hit that dude's clip yesterday because he had no bullets, man. I mean, this dude was it was a Bradley Beal like game, turning the ball over, falling all over the place, shooting air balls. I mean, just jacking up shots. I mean, some people are saying that he's out of shape. Where's the accountability at if he is out of shape? If it was when it was Wall that was out of shape, we heard it. I'm not hearing it when it comes down to bulletproof. Yeah, I even read some people saying it looks like he doesn't want to be here. Okay, that's another concern. So I'm just like,
I know
oh my,
where you at. I know
get
where
this
you
dude the fuck out of DC, man. I'm gonna just say it. Get him the fuck out of here.
at.
Get him
I
out of
get
here.
I get where you at. I get where you at. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So I guess where I'm at as well with the vets is, I, there's certain vets that I definitely want to see improvement while they're still here. Jordan Poole's definitely one of them. Corey Kispert is another. We just paid him, so I'm expecting him to shoot better than 0 for 3 from three. Which reminds me, man, we were 7 for 36, 19% yesterday as a team. Unbelievable, man. I mean, I know this is why people say we're going to be bad, because you're going to have more people shooting and chucking up threes and missing threes. We're probably going to be one of the worst 3-point shooting teams this season, because we do have a bunch of young players that aren't able or not going to be able to hit the three ball at a high clip. Kispert is really the only reliable guy that we can rely on coming off the bench to shoot at a high clip. But Jordan Poole, he's not going to shoot 6 for 11 from three every game. We know that. You know, I think between those two guys and obviously Kuz, these guys are reliant to hit that three ball. But we know this is why we're going to be bad, because the vets are just not good enough to rub off on some of the younger guys when it pertains to their their shooting percentages. Kispert, I think, was what, 40, almost 40%, or was he over 40% last year from three? I know he had a career high year from three.
Yeah, I
I
think it was
don't
just
really.
striking over 40%. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so he's going to have his ups and downs, but he's gonna probably still be our best 3-point shooter, no doubt, this season.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
I think
I'm
in
not
other
holding this. So.
Yeah, my bad. I didn't mean to cut you. I was just gonna say, I think in other areas though, because we already know he's a great three ball shooter, I kind of want to see him do other things well, pass the ball well, feed the young guys, start working on the overall aspect of your game, try to work on being a better two-way. Is he really a defender? Is he a respectable defender around the league? I don't think he's bad, but I don't think he's great either. So he's kind of like right in that middle area of being a really good defender. Like you said, Valanciunas, no doubt about it. I think he's just going to bring a vet mentality to the game every day, and he's going to be hovering around that rim. So there'll be a lot of spoon-fed baskets for him, a lot of putbacks, a lot of offensive rebounds where he can get the putback there. He had 2 last night. So yeah, I think when it pertains to the vets, I think that's the overall concern, whether or not these guys are going to be able to keep their shooting at an all-time high this year, and we know that they're not, and that's primarily why we're going to be bad. It's not even really has nothing to do with some of the younger guys. It's the fact that we got a bunch of vets that are, you know, maybe third tier role players on a
Yeah,
championship caliber team. That's
I
really what it
agree.
boils down to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
There's no real star. That's the thing. There's no real star. And that transitions me into the third question, my dude. When it pertains to Kyle Kuzma, I got to bring it up. Is Kuzma still worth 2 first-round picks in the eyes of the front office? Is the expectation from the front office still 2 first-round picks for Kyle Kuzma? I had to ask that question 2 different ways. What's your answer?
if that's the expectation, then they need to get off of that because you can't even get 2 toothpicks from this dude. I mean, I said last night, I said this dude is not even worth an EBT card right now. So I'm looking at it like, what can you really get for this guy at this moment? The way he played last night, what team would give up 2 first-round picks? And then I think I saw a tweet early today that I guess the pick that the Mavericks was, I guess that they included in the trade, or it was, I had to read it again, but somebody said that the pick was like top 2 protected. So I don't know if we had got that pick. I mean, think about it. It's top 2 protected. That's crazy. But to go back to bulletproof. No, he's not worth you. You're gonna have to trade him the same way you got him. I keep saying that. You're gonna have to package him. And I think that's the reason why Bulletproof Jr., who is jersey number one, as I like to call him, is that's probably the reason why he's here, because maybe you're gonna have to include him in a deal too. So and let me just say this when it comes down to Bulletproof, because I just read something he said today. And I'm gonna ask you, how do you feel about this comment? So his comment was, we don't talk enough on the court, especially defensively, hence why we have a lot of lapses. So he's saying that they're not talking enough on the court to why they have mental lapses on defense. What is your thoughts about that?
I think if you're going to complain about something like that, you need to lead for example. You need to be the leader of that issue.
Right.
You can't speak as if, oh, it's just because I'm the only one doing it. I don't see you doing it all the time. If you are, like, first of all, I've sat courtside where I've heard enough of who verbalizes what, in games. And I've heard Kuzma verbalize some things. I've been that close to the court to know that there is communication. When during the game, sometimes you can't see that from the TV, who's talking, who's not saying. You know what I mean? You can't see that from the TV. But I know for a fact that the things that he's complaining about, there's no way that I'm seeing him do that on a consistent basis.
Right.
There needs to be that veteran leadership. And Kyle Kuzma is really only on this roster for that purpose, to be that voice and that mouthpiece for everybody else and for the young guys. And if they're not doing what Kuzma's saying that they need to do, maybe it's starting to question whether or not they are needing to listen to you as the leader and be that voice and be that mouthpiece for the team. That starts to go into question of your leadership and you being a captain, because maybe no one's communicating because they're not listening to the captain. That's kind of where I'm at. So there's a lot that goes into that. Your performance is number one. You got to put up points, bro. You out here shooting air balls and you trying to tell somebody else what they should and shouldn't be doing. Everyone see it. You're fumbling the rock. You ain't, it just looks like you're discombobulated and you weren't prepared for the season. So you can't start blaming everybody else because you're not prepared. You see what I'm saying? It ain't like you came out in the preseason or even the first game of the season blazing hot. That's Jordan Poole. Right now, I'm looking at it like Jordan Poole is the only person who has the right to say anything because he's the one that looks prepared for the season. If everybody was prepared for the season, we win that game last night running away. Because then we would be the defending champion Boston Celtics, right? That's a team that's prepared to win. We're where we're at because, number one, Kuzma's not an all-star. All right? Number two, Poole isn't an all-star. Valanciunas isn't an all-star. Kispert isn't an all-star. We don't have one. We don't have a franchise player. We have no one who's going to put up numbers, that makes the ultimate difference in the game. We don't have two players that do it. And we just have a bunch of young guys that are just going to do what they need to do because they know that the vets aren't good enough to really be that much of a catalyst for the team. I mean, let's just call it what it is.
Right.
Maybe Kuzma understands that for why he plays the way that he does, but I'm not using that. I don't think that that's an excuse.
No. So let me ask you, do you think the front office expectations is to get 2 first-round picks for him or what?
I think they should change whatever their expectation is. I think they should have changed it 2 seasons ago. Remember, I said this. I was one of the first people to call it out that Kuzma wasn't worth 2 first-round picks 2 years ago. Now that he's declining and it just looks like it's more of a descending of his game, I feel like it's going along with the value of his contract. Every year his contract goes down, so does the standards of his play.
Yeah.
So does his attitude for how he plays the game. I mean, we got him signed until 2026, 2027. My dude, by then he's going to be making 19 mil a season and he's going to want a contract extension after next season. I don't even know what he'd be valued at when it's time for his extension at that point. And I don't know if other teams are gonna look at it like, oh well, yeah, we're definitely ready to pay Kyle Kuzma. Remember, Pascal Siakam got the money he got because the Indiana Pacers, number one, are competing and contending for a championship. And then number two, they value him because he's an all-star.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh yeah, we're ready to pay Pascal Siakam. So when they made that trade for Pascal Siakam, they made the trade on the premise that they were going to pay him a contract extension. So you have to find a team that would be willing to do that for Kyle Kuzma, either by the end of this season or by the end of next season. And the way he's playing, I can't tell you if with complete confidence that there's going to be a team out there that's going to be willing to do that. If anything, a team might be like, well, what are you going to give us to get to take Kyle Kuzma off your hands?
Yeah.
Because you're going to have to attach something at this point.
Well, yeah, that's how the way you're going to have to move him. I mean, you're not going to be able to move him by himself. You're going to have to attach players. So I think that's the reason why it's important for guys like Jersey number one and some of these other young players that we didn't, well, more so Jersey number one and PBJ to show some improvement because you may have to attach those guys. Keep in mind, just a week ago, that's the reason why those two guys have not been released because Dawkins was trying to find trade destinations for those guys.
Mm-hmm.
So it's imperative for even those two guys to play like something because you're going to probably have to attach them to go along with Bulletproof. And look, man, I mean, I don't know what it is, man. Some people look at him and they think that he's great. I mean, and he's a good role player, but he's not an all-star. He's not going to be an all-star. This is not when we had Rod Strickland, who was out there playing like an all-star, and he never was an all-star. We have Kuzma, who's on the same level as guys like Calbert Chaney, who's on the same level as guys like Tyrone Nesby. He may be better than those two guys, but I'm talking about tier-wise, level tier-wise, that's where he is. And we're treating him like he's better than that. So if the dude doesn't want to be here, then he's going to have to play better so we can get him where he goes. Could Kyle Kuzma net you a Jaden Ivey from the Detroit Pistons, which is looks like the Pistons are ready to move on past him? Is he good enough to net you that?
Right.
Probably not.
I don't.
You
It's
know,
tough to say, man.
if the Pistons had, if you know the best we could get from the Pistons, and I'm just going to use them as an example, but they already got rid of him. The most Kyle Kuzma can get us if we traded him straight up, it'll be for Killian fucking Hayes. I mean,
Wait,
Killian Hayes.
hey, is Killian Hayes on the roster right now?
No. There you go. There you go. The guy who's out of the league, that's what Bulletproof could get us right now if we trade him straight up.
Somebody out of the league.
Somebody out of the league.
Damn.
I know I'm going to get hate in the comment section, but yeah, I said
it. Well, yeah. I mean, you're gonna get hate because nobody's gonna agree with that. Obviously,
Of course not. And it's the reason why we're in the situation that we're in right now. Because when we tell the truth, nobody don't want to believe it. We told them that, you know, building around Bill was a mistake. Everybody went against us. Now we're telling them, you saying Bulletproof is not worth 2 first-round picks. You get hate on that. I'm saying Bulletproof could probably net us an EBT card, or better yet, Killian Hayes, who's out of the league. And I know I'm going to get hate on that. But the reality is what it is. If it smells like shit, it looks like shit. What is it? Shit.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, I'll say this, man. I know you call him Bulletproof. There's been times where he has played pretty well. He's had a stretch of 10, 15 games where he's played well, and we'll give him that. But we always felt like the road to where we were headed, Kyle Kuzma never really fit that you know, that timeline. Like even when we acquired him from the Lakers and we had Bill on the team, you know, the timeline was really for Rui, you know, but people wanted to argue against us. Well, you know, Kuzma needed to start because he didn't get that opportunity in LA. We weren't against any of that. We were just saying at the end of the day, that role was supposed to be for Rui. because that timeline said that Rui was on a timeline trajectory, Denny was on a timeline trajectory, Kispert at the time when we drafted Kispert was on the same timeline trajectory. That's where we were at. That would be equivalent at that time to us basically bringing somebody here to play in front of, say, Bilal. You know, that would be the equivalent. That's why we were so upset about it at the time, because we were like, wait a minute, you guys really think you're gonna win something with Kyle Kuzma and Bradley Beal? Like, Bill ain't that type of dude. He ain't the guy that's gonna take you over the hump. We were always making that case. He's not that guy. And then we finally came to the conclusion that, yeah, you're right. He's not that guy. You know, Ted Leonsis had to go chop it up with Jenny Buss out there in LA for her to tell him, no, you don't pay guys like him. You pay guys like Kobe. You pay once in a lifetime guys that kind of money. You don't pay him that kind of money. And then for Ted to finally make the decision, like, you know what, Jeannie, you're right. You're right. Let me go ahead and get this guy out of here. Let me fire Tommy Shepard. Let me get a new regime in here, and let's start this thing over again. And let's finally draft our franchise guy who's worth that money, who is going to be the guy that can, take us to the next level. I respect the hell out of Ted for saying, I'll never fall back into that trap again. As long as I'm the owner, you won't get 251, 300 mil out of me unless you're the guy.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lesson learned. I won't stick it to some of the people who came at me on Wizards Twitter or came at you too much, because I know for a fact they in hiding. They not coming out and admitting that what we said years ago was true. I'm not even. I just know I know.
Mm-hmm.
Just know we both know. You know, but yeah, now we're here with Kyle Kuzma, and if we end up getting 2 first-round picks up, if we end up getting 2 first-round picks off of Kyle Kuzma, I personally would think that that's the biggest damn finesse that the Wizards front office could ever do
Mm-hmm.
while they're in it. If
Yeah.
they could do that. The reason why we got that off of Denny, look at the kind of year he had last year. And look at the role that he's playing in Portland as we speak. Portland values the hell out of Denny.
Well, yeah. I mean, the
I
reason
just
being
didn't
for that.
like the Malcolm Brogdon return.
Well, the reason for Denny is Denny's 23. So Denny hasn't reached his potential yet. He hasn't reached his prime years yet. Bulletproof, and let me give clarity of why I call him that. You know why I call him that. But for those out there who don't know why I call him that, I call him that because every time his name is mentioned in the trade, he still manages to be here. He survives that. So the trade rumors, he survives that. It's like he's Teflon Don. That's why I call him Bulletproof. Trade rumors, ping, 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 ping. They fly right off of. Everybody else gets hit. But to Denny is 23 years old. He hasn't reached his peak yet. So that's the reason why he's being valued out there in Portland. That's the reason why we was able to get the return for him. When we're talking about Bulletproof, he's 29. He is who he is. He's not going to get any better. He's not going to be an all-star. So you're going to have to take what you can get. If you're trading him straight up, you're pretty much going to get somebody equal to him, or you're going to be taking back a bad contract. So that's how the way I look at him. And we're going to have to package him with other players. And we're going to have some of the younger guys that maybe Will Dawkins is ready to remove, get off of, to make that deal look better. Because I know that, the league is already looking at Kuz like he's nothing but a role player. He's a guy that we can bring off the bench. Maybe if not the Celtics, the Sacramento Kings still have interest in him and they're willing to move off of somebody that we could use, they probably would do it. But at this time, I don't think there's any teams that's really valuing Bulletproof at this moment. We could end up being stuck with him.
I'll even throw this in there too. The last couple players that we signed and traded for under the Tommy Shepard regime, they haven't really had a career even after they left us. Like I go back to Spencer Dinwiddie. Teams didn't value him like that when he left us. Monte Morris, he was starting. Teams didn't value Monte like that after he left us. Tyus Jones, even though that doesn't fall under Tommy Shepard, Tyus Jones left under the Will Dawkins regime, and teams didn't value him like that, anymore after he left us. And I think the same is said for Kyle Kuzma. I just think that, as time goes on, you're playing on a bad team. Teams are not going to value these guys the same way. And I've been saying this for the past 3, 4 seasons. It's like, when are people gonna wake up and realize, like, the vets playing on a bad team, their value is going down. Jonas Valanciunas was the most sought after center on the market. He signed with the Wizards. And what do you think is gonna happen as time goes on? The longer he stays, you think he's gonna demand the same value that he had on the market this summer if he's with this team over the next 2, 3 years? We have to get rid of Jonas this year, or else his value will just keep diminishing.
That's true.
So Kuzma should have been gone 2 seasons ago for 2 first-round picks. If you thought that he was worth 2 first-round picks 2 seasons ago, you should have got rid of him. Just like you should have got rid of Tyus as soon as you got Tyus. Tyus should have been gone December or January, the first year, last year. He should have been gone last year, early. Kuz 2 seasons ago. Get these guys out of here, man, before their value so diminishes so much that you have no other choice but to either let them walk or have to attach something to get them out of here. That's where we're at, man. So I hope Will Dawkins and company understands that from that
Let me ask you a
standpoint.
question about Will Dawkins, and then we can wrap it up after this one.
Yep.
So you and I have talked about Will Dawkins offline a lot, but some of the moves he's made.
Yeah.
So how you say he's doing so far as the GM? He's been the general manager, what, about almost 16, close to 18 months? How would you say he's doing so far as being the GM?
C plus.
Okay.
And I kind of explained it to you yesterday. That he gets an A for all of the young assets, but he gets like a D minus, close to an F grade on all of the vet acquisitions and the vet trades. Getting Bill out of here was their biggest accomplishment right now. And they got that coming through the door. So it's almost like that doesn't really even count, because yes, while we wanted them to get, that was almost like a given. Whoever comes in here, you're getting rid of Bill and you're getting him off your hands. That's their biggest accomplishment. I don't know if we can say that that's a part of them building the structure. We still are in the, we don't know what the final grade is going to be once they finally put all the pieces together. Right now, they're getting an A for the draft picks. The Bub, the trade, Denny, a lot of people didn't like it, including me, because Denny was homegrown. But Bub was the pick. You know how I felt. I said I still think we could have, concocted a deal where we could have possibly gotten the 14th, was it the 14th pick?
Yeah.
For Bub, even if, outside of the Denny trade, I still think there was a possibility somewhere. I don't think you had to get rid of Denny, but the consolation to that, or the prize for that, was Bub. So you get an A for that. Keyshawn looks like a steal right now. He still has to kind of prove that. Sar right now, he's only going to get better, but he has to prove that he's a 2. He needs to prove that he's a top 2 pick. Bilal to me, sky's the limit for this kid, but he has to prove to us and to himself that, hey, everything you see in me, I'm willing to put that work in and prove to the league that I am who y'all think that I am, But all these things right now, I still give them an A for until proven otherwise. The D's and the F's, or the D minuses, obviously the KP trade for nothing. Tyus walking for nothing. The signing of Jonas Valanciunas, the retaining of Kyle Kuzma, the Jordan Poole trade right now was still kind of like, I mean, the Warriors knew Jordan Poole wasn't worth the contract that they gave him. So they got rid of him. And then their prize was Moses Moody. As you see, they gave him a contract extension, but it wasn't breaking the bank like they did for Jordan Poole. They had to pay Jordan Poole because they won the championship. But they didn't have a problem getting rid of him because they felt Moses Moody was going to be the replacement for Jordan Poole anyway. So I say all that to say those things is why I give them a C plus.
Okay, that's fair enough. I mean, when it comes down to the Denny trade, I understood it. Yeah, as I told you, it's strictly business, nothing personal. And then we have to keep in mind that some of these guys are not guys that Dawkins drafted or traded for. So these are players that he's inherited. What I am seeing with Dawkins, it doesn't take him that long to realize like this is not going to work. He will get rid of those players, even with some of the guys that he's brought here. The Tyus Jones trade, well, the the fact that he left and we didn't get anything, it hurts. And to me, with him going to Phoenix because he started, it's definitely by design. I kind of agree with you there that Bill's like, hey, come on over here, we can get you to start. It's kind of like sticking it to us because I read that if that deal didn't come about, he would have been included in the sign and trade type of deal. I don't know where, but he would have been. But that's the only reason why he's in Phoenix because he wanted to start. Remember, that's the same reason why we had Monte Morris in the first place because he wanted to start. So what Dawkins has to do is he has to figure out what the formula is. And it seems like when he thinks he may have it, something comes up to kind of mess things up and slow down the process. Like Bulletproof's attitude, that could possibly slow up this rebuild if you're not able to get rid of him. If he's not checked in to play basketball, how are you going to
It's
be able
going
to
to be
trade
harder
him?
to get rid of him. Yeah,
He's going to
it's
be
going to
hard
be
to get
harder.
rid of.
Mm-hmm.
So you also don't, when it comes to Valanciunas, to your point, yes, you do need to try to move him this year, but you also don't want to risk him possibly getting injured where you won't be able to move him right away.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are some teams that's going to be interested in him, but for how long? How long are some of these teams going to be interested in? We know that the Lakers was one team. We know that the Knicks are another team. But how long? How long are they going to be interested? We don't know. So so for Dawkins, he's doing a pretty good job. There are some hiccups he has. The Pool trade, I'm kind of waiting on that one before I kind of judge him because I'm just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with that. I don't believe Poole's going to be part of the future. I know you don't believe it's going to be part of the future. I do believe that if he continues to keep playing the way he's playing, we're going to flip him. Now, what will we get in return? That's a topic for another day. I don't know. I know he could net us better than what we would get from Bulletproof, but I just don't know. We just need to get franchise players. We need to get players here that want to be Wizards, players here that's going to be aggressive. That's what we need. But then it also goes down to coaching. Is Brian Keefe the long term? I say no. What do you think?
I don't know. Will Dawkins and Winger really like the guy. That's the thing. They're giving him the opportunity. So if he gets it right with the young guys and we start turning this thing around, we start winning ball games, I can't see them firing him. I can only see them, extending him and saying, "Hey, let's keep this thing going." I think the idea, or not the idea, but I think the perception or the expectation anyway is once we get good, then we're gonna let him go and hire, overpay for another coach who's gonna come in here with experience, and then say, okay, win us some championships. We're ready to win now. And I think that's kind of where you are, but I don't think that this front office necessarily feels that way because I think that if they or when we get to that point where we're ready to contend and compete, I think whoever's leading us on this charge, they're going to continue to pay that man, and then and Ted is totally fine with that because Ted's like, look, if we ain't got to break the bank for another coach, I'm totally fine with that because Ted's also been on the back or the front end of that argument where someone is saying, okay, we want to win now with Bradley Beal. So we got to go out there and go hire a Scott Brooks for 5 years, however X amount of dollars. in order to make this thing work. He's been there, and I don't think he wants to go back to that either. So when we're ready to compete, I think it just depends because I think Keith is kind of the measuring stick on where we're going to be in the next 2 to 3 years. If if we are where we want to be, Keith keeps his job. If we're not kind of where we want to be, and then you start talking about, all right, Bilal ain't improved, Sar hasn't improved, Bub ain't improved. If we're at that conversation, then Keith loses his job, and we're right back into the wheel of things, man. And that's kind of where the Pistons are, if you think about it. They're a prime example of that.
Yeah, I agree. All right.
All
I
right,
think that'll
man.
wrap that up.
Yes, sir. So I just want to thank everyone for tuning in. This wraps up this episode of State of the Wizards. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And once again, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next episode of State of the Wizards. You guys have a good one.
Peace.